Dr. Owlett escorts a young girl to the science lab and quickly begins the transplant procedure. A human brain is attached to a robotic body, and the girl's skin is generated via a camera. Upon awakening, Mira is greeted by Dr. Owlett's soothing voice, who addresses her by name. At first glance, Mira appears to be a perfectly normal human girl. Dr. Owlett informs the subject that she used to sail with her parents on a ship, but it was unfortunately destroyed by terrorists, and she was the only survivor. Due to the extent of her physical injuries, scientists had to create a synthetic body for her. However, the doctor assures her that her mind and memories remain unaltered. Dr. Owlett informs Cutter, the head of the company, of their successful creation of a machine with human consciousness. Despite the doctor's objections, the director decides to induct the girl into Section 9, a team of warriors. A year later, Mira, now a major, carries out a mission under the command of Dasik Aramaki. A female robot scans a building where government officials suspect a potential assassination plot. The perpetrators break into the building and, upon detecting the intrusion, Mira calls for reinforcement. However, realizing the urgency of the situation, she decides to take matters into her own hands and proceeds to the site to prevent a catastrophe. Mira discards her cloak and swiftly descends from the roof. Despite her speed, she arrives too late as the accomplices of the criminals, who are bad escort girls, attack the building's guests, aiding in their mission. Eventually, Mira enters the building and neutralizes the perpetrators. One of them, a female accomplice, pleads for mercy, but Mira seizes the opportunity. As the accomplice's face opens up revealing a weapon, Mira is forced to fire in self-defense. Her colleague, Badu, arrives to assist her and observes that she considers herself a robotic geisha. He reassures her by reminding her that she is not just a machine made of metal. After recuperating from her recent exertion, Mira administers a drug to enhance her system, before embarking on a new mission. Section 9 is investigating the identity and motives behind the hacking of the geisha robot and the attack on the establishment. On the same night, several other scientists who had previously been hacked were also destroyed at another location. A message from someone named Q's was left at the scene, warning that anyone associated with Cutter's company will be met with destruction. Aramaki dispatches the team of warriors on a mission, but requests for Mira to stay behind and visit his office. The older man instructs the major to locate Q's, but warns her not to take any unnecessary risks, as she did on her previous mission. Mira and Badu then proceed to the laboratory to learn about the autopsy results of the geisha robot and take a brief respite before further testing. During their journey, the two reminisce about their childhood, but Mira struggles to retrieve her memories. Mira notices that she is experiencing some malfunctions, but chooses not to inform her partner and pretends that everything is functioning normally. Dr. Owlett fixes her arm and inquires about her well-being, highlighting her human attributes. The major confides in the scientist about the glitches, and after conducting a thorough examination, Owlett determines that they are only minor disruptions. Following the examination, Mira and Badu visit Dr. Dolan, who is conducting research on the geisha robot. The doctor requests a few days to complete her work, but since the warriors are on a tight schedule, Mira decides to connect to the robot without authorization and examine her memory from within. The major enters the bot's memory and, for a brief moment, she is able to navigate and select the appropriate memory files. However, she soon finds herself being pulled down by thousands of hands, indicating that someone is attempting to hack into her system. Despite the sudden shutdown, Mira manages to locate Q's hiding place. She then puts together a team and sets out with Section 9 to track them down. In accordance with her friend's plan, Mira infiltrates a nightclub while staying in touch with the two. She is successful in transmitting data for some time, but as she descends into the hall, she becomes trapped and the connection is lost. As Badu attempts to establish communication, Mira is confronted by a suspicious old Yakuza who tries to extract information from her. Badu is also approached by local gangsters. He momentarily freezes, unsure of what to do, but when the major launches an attack, Badu quickly regains his composure and joins forces with the major to dismantle the nightclub. The major descends to the basement and discovers Q's repeating a phrase about Hank's company, only to find out it was just a hologram when she opens fire. Badu rushes to her aid, but an explosion occurs and throws them to the end of the corridor. Mira awakens in a laboratory where special equipment is used to construct a new body for her as she had sustained severe damage. A scan reveals the major's new malfunctions and she confesses to the doctor that they have intensified since she accessed the geisha's memory. The doctor scolds her for making an unauthorized connection to the bot and reminds her that as a human, her consciousness cannot be protected by programmed antiviruses. After completing her treatment, Mira visits Badu, who has lost his eyes in the explosion and now has tactical vision devices. He is adjusting to his new appearance, but for now, he asks Mira to feed his dogs so they won't be frightened. Upon learning that Mira has delved into another person's mind, Cutter becomes angry and threatens to dismantle the departments if it happens again. After discovering a human girl on the street, Mira hides with her to imagine what she might look like with a physical body. Hughes visits Dr. Dolan's office and, after accessing her memory, eliminates her. Section 9 receives a report of Dr. Dolan's death, and Mira arrives at the scene to examine the body. In the doctor's pocket, Mira finds a flash drive containing valuable information, including a list of Q's targets. To her shock, she sees the name of her friend and Dr. Owlett, on the list. The agents attempt to reach the scientist, but his radio is turned off. Meanwhile, two garbage collectors decide to take their lunch break in their truck. The garbage collectors are unaware that Q's has hacked their brains and has taken control of them, forcing them to drive the truck into Dr. Owlett's car. Mira and Badu manage to rescue the doctor, but they are unable to capture the culprit. Hughes escapes the scene by becoming transparent and walks through a flooded area of town to erase any tracks in case someone begins pursuit. However, this does not rescue the individual. Mira arrives in the vicinity and also becomes invisible, disarming the criminal's knife. She then reactivates her visibility and immediately engages in combat with the mercenary Q's. As she stands over the victim, Mira's actions are unchecked, leading Badu to intervene and halt her in order to ensure that the individual is taken into custody safely. During the questioning, it is revealed that the individual is unable to assist in the capture. Hughes has erased his memory and implanted a false reality in which he supposedly has a wife and daughter. Suddenly, the individual's expression changes and Mira realizes that Hughes has infiltrated his mind. Undeterred, she takes another risk and enters the queue, confronting the intruder directly. As she attempts to identify the entity, the Ninth Ward tracks down Q's location. Once the connection is established, the intruder exits the scavenger's mind and the individual is relieved of his suffering in full view. The team sets out to the specified location and Mira discovers a network where Q's has linked the minds of hundreds of individuals to serve his own interests. The Major attempts to locate the network's organizer on her own, but she experiences another malfunction and becomes trapped. When Mira opens her eyes, she finds herself bound to the network's wires. Hughes approaches her and, after discarding his cloak, expresses his keen interest in her. Hughes intends to utilize her following his rebirth. It transpires that the individual was created similarly to Mira, with his physical body being replaced by an artificial one while preserving his consciousness and brain. However, the experiment failed and the company moved on to create Mira. Hughes tries to justify his actions, explaining that he is not causing harm to innocent people, but merely seeking retribution for his own life being taken by Cutter. Despite this, Mira remains resolute and vows to prevent the intended actions of her kin. The individual frees Mira and offers her the opportunity to end his life, but she halts suddenly upon noticing the drawings on the entity's body, which are similar to the ones she frequently sees in her visions of turmoil. Hughes is unable to explain the meaning behind these markings. He is also unable to recall any memories from his previous life. However, these images haunt him as well. The team bursts into the room and before returning fire, Hughes warns Mira not to take the drugs that suppress her memories. The entity disappears into the shadows and Badu is relieved to find his partner unharmed. However, to Badu's surprise, Mira chases after Hughes. She confronts Dr. Owlett and demands an explanation. The doctor confesses that there have been nearly 100 subjects similar to Mira, but each experiment resulted in failure. The story about Mira's parents dying on a ship and her body requiring modifications is also revealed to be a falsehood. The memories were implanted to motivate the Major to fight. Badu receives orders to find his partner and knows where to begin his search. Understanding that his friend enjoys diving, he arrives at her boat and assures Mira that he has no intention of harming her. The Major confesses that she is uncertain of who to trust anymore but still hopes that Badu will not betray her, as he is her friend. Mira requests that her partner take her back so she can uncover additional information. Upon learning that Mira is aware of everything, Cutter contacts the doctor and orders her to be taken into custody. Badu drops off his friend at the dock, where she is surrounded. Mira is disconnected and brought to the laboratory, where Cutter plans to dispose of her. Dr. Owlett pleads with her boss to grant Mira a second opportunity. She vows to format and reprogram her, but Cutter refuses to take the risk and orders the doctor to dispose of her, disregarding the doctor's pleas. Mira tries to prevent the doctor from agreeing to erase her memory, but the doctor confesses that her consent was never needed. The doctor defies her boss. She administers the incorrect substance to Mira and provides her with a flash drive containing genuine memories before instructing her to quickly flee. Cutter summons the guards, but the Major successfully fights back and makes her way towards the exit, causing her boss to eliminate the doctor who disobeyed his orders. Cutter deceitfully informs the team that Doctor was destroyed by Mira and instructs them to eliminate the Major. Badu attempts to challenge the supervisor, however, he is the designated person to handle his previous colleague. Mira reaches the location specified on the flash drive and encounters a Chinese mother who has been searching for her daughter, Motoko, for the past year. Suspecting that the woman is her mother, Mira flees but vows to come back and visit her. The Major contacts Aramaki and reveals the truth about the company's experiments, the abducted individuals, and fabricated memories. The young girl seeks assistance from the elderly man, requesting that he grant her access to the network so she can reach out to Q's. Cutter eavesdrops on the conversation and realizes that the truth is about to become widespread. In an attempt to prevent this from happening, he tries to eliminate the old friend. However, Aramaki proves to be a formidable opponent and effortlessly defends himself, confirming Mira's claims. The mercenaries also target the other members of Section 9, but the elderly man manages to alert them, and the young girl fights back. The young girl infiltrates the network and discovers memories of the Chinese quarter capturing individuals for experimentation. The Major is joined by Q's. The girl recalls that in her previous life, Q's was her own brother until Cutter separated them and subjected them to the experiments. Q's, too, remembers his sister and calls out to her, inviting her into his perfect network. However, at that moment, a massive explosion shakes the area, and the siblings are thrown out of the ruined building. Cutter unleashes a spider tank with the intention of rectifying the mistakes of the experiment. After securing her brother in a safe location, Mira returns fire at the machine, but the spider proves to be too powerful and launches a missile, destroying the bridge beneath her. The tank returns for Q's and lifting the guy up by his face. He is about to finish him off, but unexpectedly for Cutter, Mira reappears, jumping on top of the spider. The girl rips the engine out of him, badly injured and losing her arm in the process. The girl falls to the ground and her brother crawls up to her. Once again, he proposes that Mira go digital, but when she declines, he vows to always be with her in spirit. The young man's eyes close and he abandons his physical form forever. Badu rushes to his friend and lifts her up. Aramaki dispatches Cutter, greeting him on behalf of Mira. The girl requests that he inform her former boss that she was created for justice and grants permission for her own elimination. Finally, after paying his respects at her grave, the Major shares a secret with her mother and embraces her. Despite finding a place to call home, she remains with her team to combat evil.
Watch next and see how a notorious terrorist who attempted to hijack a plane is taken down along with his accomplices after a fierce fight between the criminals and the FBI. Please subscribe and turn on notifications to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching.